Good evening, and thank you all for coming out this evening. My name is Hovis, and tonight I'll be talking about tree felling equipment and safety. First off, we have the forestry helmet, which has a screen face protector, and then also it has earmuffs all built in, and the hard hat with the suspension system inside. That way, if a limb falls on your head, this takes all the absorbs all the shock, and it saves your brain. And then also we have ear protection, earplugs. That is used whenever the earmuffs are not available. We have safety glasses, which is always a good idea to be worn underneath the forestry helmet so that the smaller debris that goes through the guard can't go ahead and enter your eyes. And then we have chaps. This is a fairly new pair of chaps. They're in good condition. The straps are all in really good shape. There's no tears. The inner material isn't exposed anywhere. It's all in good shape. This is a pair of chaps that probably should be hung up. As you can see here, there's some material showing right here where there was a cut made in the chaps at one point. And they are covered with oil, and the more oil that is on the chaps, the less the material will work. Which the back is still fine, but this is the part that will be used, and whenever it gets damaged or gets to where it's in a bad condition, it's time to either hang them up or wash them or do something different with them. And then we have the wedge pouch, which has, of course, 2 wedges. I like to use the 12-inch wedges because they just lift a tree easier. This one has just a rough surface on it. This one has a rough surface on one side and has little catches on this side. It will not pop out hardly any at all whenever you're driving it into a tree. Then also, I have a saw tool, and it has the nut wrench here. It can take the bar nuts off, so you can take this apart if it's stuck in a tree that's fixing to fall on the saw. It also has the screwdriver on the end to tighten the chain, and most of the saw can be worked on with this one tool. There's a few places that has to have a torque wrench, and those are super easy to find. Then also I have a file for sharpening the chain if I hit a rock with it. Right here on the teeth. And then a leather pouch. Leather pouches always seems to hold up better because there's, especially ones with rivets, that way there's no seams or threads that can be cut or torn or anything like that. And then you have the hammer to beat the wedges with. I like this one because it's heavy and it's double-sided. The one side has just the flat surface to actually hit the wedges with, and this side is like a hatchet. That way, if I need to chop myself out if I'm hung up, it's very easy to do so with this. And then I have my saws. This is a steel MS-660, and I have a 20-inch bar on it. And the main safety features on this is number one, the trigger catch. That way, if your hand is not completely on the handle, you can't rev it up like that. Then also you have the chain brake, which whenever pulled back, the chain will spin, and whenever it is set, the chain will not spin. That way, whenever you're cutting, if you have a kickback, it engages and then the chain stops. That way, if it comes up, it can't slice you very bad at all. Then over here, I have a steel MS-461. It is a step below the 660, and it has a 20-inch bar on it as well. And it has all the same features that the 660 has. It's just a little bit smaller of a saw. And general maintenance on these saws include cleaning the air filter, which is simply unscrewing this, taking the back cover off, removing this, and either blowing it out or just simply hitting it on a surface to knock all the sawdust out. Putting it back and just reversing the steps, taking it off. Making sure that's good and tight, that way whenever you're running the saw, it don't back out and fall off, and then you'll get sawdust down inside the carburetor, and that will clog up, and then that will cause the saw to blow up, and that's very, very expensive to fix. And then to start these saws, which I will not start it inside, you will put it on choke and then hold it like so and pull it like that until it fires, and then you push the switch up one notch, and then that is set to high idle, and then whenever you start it, it will be on high idle, and you just hit the trigger and it will release on down to the just regular idle. And then up one more is the off switch. And then you have your gas and oil tanks, and that's the same on the 660. The oil tank is always on the front and the gas is always on the back, so it's very important not to ever mix those up. And then to tighten the chain, one simply takes this, loosens the bar nuts, and this chain needs to be tightened just a little bit. There's just a flathead screw in there. You turn it just a little bit until the chain just barely pinches your fingers. And you tighten it back up. And it's ready to go. Chain breaks off. Make sure that the chain seats down inside the sprocket, because if you don't, the chain will often come off of the bar, and then you'll have to take everything apart and completely redo the whole thing. And it's always important to start it with the chain brake on. That way, if it does, if the rope catches, it won't come up and cut you whenever it turns on. And that's very important to do with all saws. And then up on top, to start it, oftentimes, especially with the newer saw, the compression is very, very high on them. So this is a decompression valve. You just simply push that in, and it makes it very easy to crank. And that's on this saw, it's over on the side right here. And on this bigger saw, it's right there, right in the middle. You just push that in. And this saw, it's the same way with the with everything, basically. The same. It's all the same air filter, the same carburetor. It's just that saw is just a little bit smaller than this. You always want to make sure to get everything tight and make sure everything is all ready to go before you put them away. That way, whenever you're ready to start to get them out to cut again, it's ready to go, and you don't have to go through any maintenance steps or anything. That way you can just take them off the shelf and start cutting. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.